So unlike some of the folks that can speak freely, I am an elected member. I'm also the chief government whip. That means I get to herd cats, and I put it very succinctly to folks internally so they understand what that means. It means I protect the party, our premier, our members against threats both foreign and domestic. I'm also the parliamentary secretary for economic corridor development, and I report directly to the Minister of Intergovernmental Relations and Affairs, and that would be Premier Smith. So I very much have a lot of latitude of meeting with folks south of the border, internationally as well. So the reputation that we have out in the world is actually pretty decent. The way that we get our doors open aren't by hammering them down. It's not by jumping up and down and screaming and making the loudest noise. The way we do it is by sitting down at the table, having a coffee, and talking good old-fashioned common sense. One of the biggest issues and challenges that we have, and I think we saw it during the federal election, who else put their elbows up? Yeah, exactly. So who's ever been in a fight, an actual good, God's honest truth, drop the gloves fight? Okay, who's ever taken any martial arts training or boxing training? Anybody else like that? Did your instructor tell you to put your arms up? No. No, that means a broken floating rib. And I think that's why we're all sucking wind a bit here after what took place. The thing and the challenge that we have, and this isn't just unique to Canadians, everyone gets their emotions amped up and then your brains turn off. And it makes it more difficult for us to articulate what we're talking about. But one of the most powerful things that you can ever tap into is the why. It's people's feelings. And think of what we talk about. Why do we want firearms? Why do you have firearms? When you get back to that point, you find out what the other person, what matters to them. And I do this shtick all the time. I write a newspaper article, and back in the day when I was building pipelines across the country and down the States, and when you're ripping and tearing people's farmyards up and you're going past their golf courses and you're doing all these things, it tends to be pretty interesting territory when you pop into the local cafe and 700 of your men just finished rolling through. You tend to get a little more sensitive to what matters to people. So when I became a politician all of 6 years ago, that's how I approached it. And the reason why I became a politician and parked my private business and everything else is because I was mad as hell and wasn't going to take it anymore. So I literally had to figure out how this whole system works. So Mitch had alluded to how that works. I had to figure out how a constituency association worked. I had to try to do that. I just tried to help out from the outside edges, similar to what you folks are doing with your organization here now. And all of a sudden I found out that other people were thinking the same way. So I didn't know the area. I was on the road lots. Ended up doing the same thing I did as if I was doing a pipeline project. Went and sat in the local cafes, went and talked to people, had them approach me because I was the stranger, was abundantly clear. And after the second or third time you go over there, they're approaching you and telling you their issues. And then you're listening and you're listening and you're listening. And you might have some ideas, but God's honest truth, there isn't one idea I ever had out there that 100% was 100% right. It always takes a little bit of extra help when people talk to you and they come up with a better idea. But you got to get to that emotional level, and you have to park a lot of the things. It's not by accident that the media is controlled. It's not by accident that you get 30-second sound bites. It's not by accident when you pick up your phone, and you may be on one end of the political spectrum, and you pick up somebody else's phone who has the same Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, you have completely different feeds. This is programmed for how long. It's not even hashtags. Hashtags are so, 3 years ago. This is programmed for how long you look at something on the screen in your interaction, because it is literally reading you in that way. So when people are only being fed the much as they can consume, it's not by accident. You, being the person who's more intelligent than that damn algorithm, got to park that thing, and you have to connect with people on a personal level. And I hope I'm able to do that with some of you here today. I would love to be the typical politician, tell you we can do everything. Oh yeah, I'll just make that happen. Except I got this problem. I still believe in God, I still believe in my kids, and I still believe that telling the truth actually should be the way that things go. It might not be comfortable, but I'll tell you the truth. You'll ask me questions, I might not be able to tell you the answers. It's not because I don't want to. It's because I'm sworn to cabinet confidence. I sit with the cabinet. I'm sworn to caucus confidence and my oath to office as an MLA. So when I go into that house and I'm standing up there and I'm taking a political risk, I think I'm one of the only, Terry, you tell me if I'm wrong, one of the only MLAs even before I got elected that shows up faithfully to every gun show and has a booth sitting there. And I'm faithfully taking pictures with firearms, and I'm doing that. And it's at massive political risk. And quite frankly, I don't give two beans. Because this is who I am, this is what I did. I fly airplanes, I ride motorcycles, I go hunting and never get anything, because it's not about getting hunting, it's about going out in the bush and just spending some time out there, and I get to go to places that my grandfather was before, and There's all of that family history, and what I have to do is convey that. The only power I have in that house to represent 50,000 people as their voice is to try to articulate, sometimes in 2 minutes or less, the key point of the issue. So my challenge is to you, take 2 minutes, 2 God's honest truth minutes, get your message across. If you can get it down to 30 seconds, it's the why, because that's what resonates with folks. When we first had the gun ban taking place, and my grandma had asked me, and this is way prior to politics, when the long rifle thing came in, and she goes, Shane, do you think I should register my little single action Cooey that your great-grandfather gave me? Nope. I mean, this will come to pass. You know, this is probably wrong for a politician to say, right? But there's a law out there that doesn't make sense. Say no. Like, you're not stuck in a trap. You actually make the rules. But you have to be part of the system to do it. We're going to do everything we can within our power that we can legally do to make sure that safety is withheld. We're going to do all those items. We're going to uphold safety and all that. But we're going to do everything that we can to make sure it is as difficult for those to take your possessions and your property, regardless if it goes click, bang, or poo-poo. We're there. So don't manhandle the wounded when you have somebody that's risking it all, stepping out of their comfort zone to stand up in front of sometimes thousands of people to be your voice. God's honest truth, we're doing the best we can with the tools that we have allowed. And the tools are actually provided by you. That's the shtick. I had to figure that out when I got elected. How does this work? Join an organization. Don't just take it for granted that the grown-ups in the room are taking care of it, because we found out that it wasn't. We've got a beautiful system. Our system that we have is meant for one of the best abilities for anybody from any common ground background, blue, green, purple, pink, whichever bathroom you use, it doesn't matter. The system was intended for the best of those communities that represent those communities to come forward and help govern, to help put the laws in place of how we wanted to live as a civil society. Now, with all of that inherent freedom, it can be hijacked. And we've seen that. We've seen that when the most law-abiding citizens in the country are put through a database every single day and your backgrounds are scrubbed and you're meant to be standing as an outlier. You're meant to have your property taken away from you because of somebody else's feelings. To me, firearms ownership, it's a freedom. It's something that's inherently baked into who we are and what we do. The ability to defend yourself, the ability to stand up for what's right, the ability to feed your family, the ability to have some good old-fashioned fun. If you're responsible, have some fun. How about that? So when you start looking at those items, why is it that you're being tested? Why is it this being pushed? It's all about political points. It's all about feelings. It's never been about facts. How many guys own black rifles that can tell me here with no cameras on you?
I do.
Black rifles matter. Okay, who owns the Woodstock? Any semi-auto guys? Single action? Okay. You all have been beating up on each other for years. Knock that junk off. Like, literally, that's part of it. So it's part of that freedom of that culture, but the shtick is, and here's how we can control you. The algorithms will run you in that area. We'll get your emotions all wild, and we'll get you fighting amongst yourselves. So stop that. Step back from it. You drive a pickup? Cool. What do you have? You don't have to go to fisticuffs because you drive a Dodge and I drive a Chev. Who would want to do that? But, you know, if somebody else drives a Ford, you don't have to get into those type of things. So what we can do, what can we do? Like, you got some guy standing up here in the front room. Give me an idea. What can we do? What do you think we should do? How do we turn this around?
We join together.
There we go. We had this party. There was like the Wild Rose and the Conservatives, and we figured out we lost that match. A bunch of us, 80% of us, dropped our regular lives and figured out politics to jump into it so we could do something. One of the first things that I was assigned to when we heard that Bill C-71 come out, I literally called up then Jason Premier Kenney and said, Jason, we're going to have a problem here, sir. And he goes, well, what's that? I said, I'm going to be on the front steps of a courthouse if you don't put me on a task force so we can get this sorted. So there was 3 of us that were assigned to it. Terry was one of our members of it, and thank goodness we got her put in the place to actually respect and promote firearm safety. For a number of years, we had our CFO was assigned by the federal government because we put our heads in the sand, because we were holding a hissy fit. We didn't assert ourselves. You're going to see us provincially asserting ourselves lots. As Canadians, we have to assert ourselves lots. Part of this is when you sit down with people and you talk about the commonality. If I can agree with you on 80% of the stuff, why in the hell would I fight to the death in the last 20 that I can't get along with? And I've been married for 23 years, and if I could agree with my wife on 80% of the stuff, I'd be walking on water at home. What happens is people will pick topics and they'll try to divide us. They'll pick topical items that you can't get along with and they'll divide you. So our job, God's honest truth, if you want to make sure you can hold on to your firearms, is to make sure you can have that 30-second elevator pitch, that 2-minute conversation over a cup of coffee with a friend and get their perspective. So when we had a bunch of these MLAs, we're all worried about it, got on that task force, and all of a sudden a bunch of urban colleagues were saying, Shane, we can't do this. We can't support what you guys are doing. We can't do this as a government. All this conversation is churned inside. And what I said was, have you ever had one? Well, no. Well, how about you come down? And we had P&D Enterprises. They opened up their shop after hours for us, and I brought in several MLAs that were absolutely 100% urban. We brought them through, and Diane started walking them through the firearms and then started walking through the regulations. And only about half hour into that conversation, the individuals that were the most vehemently against us supporting firearms rights were saying, this doesn't make sense. How do I get a PAL? So that's why we've been doing this. Yeah, like that's literally it. One conversation at a time. So we managed to get our caucus and our party united. It wasn't just the rural guys talking about this, it was all the urban ones. Then we talked about the manufacturing and the firearms ownership and the kids and all the good stuff that goes with it. That's the real reason. It's up to us to try to articulate that, and those are difficult. Those are difficult words. But you have to understand that somebody else on the other side is just as amped up and charged. So when you're having these conversations and you got people you just can't get across to, that there's no way to move on, do not go to that fringe side. You're not trying to convince them. You're trying to convince the regular, average, everyday Canadians of what's going on here. And that's what we need to do. We need to keep working together. We'll keep pulling the tools out of the drawer we can. We'll keep throwing chairs out on the side. We'll keep putting as much administrative stuff that we legally can. But it's up to you guys to participate, to be involved, and to Mitch's point, to organize, to be part of this. Don't manhandle the wounded. If you can agree with 80% of the stuff, I am good. Give me a pat in the back. Give me a kick in the pants when I need it. But understand that these are your advocates. And you guys, here's a secret weapon. You can buy cards to any political party. Let me tell you that again, right? Literally, when we had a 91.5% turnout for our premier, giving her the thumbs up here at our last AGM, that was only 6,000 people. And oh, by the way, that was the biggest turnout in Canadian political history, was 6,000 people. Those 6,000 people also helped put policy and platforms that could become platform commitments on that floor. You want some political bang for your buck? Influence and pick who your leaders are going to be of tomorrow. You want to flex your democratic muscle, that's how you do it. We're in democratic atrophy for years. 6,000 people gave the thumbs up approval for that. Those smaller groups and organizations literally got together and put together these policies. Those policies become platforms. When we run and we put those in place, we put about 80% of those platform commitments in place. And that's driven from you. Now, I'm precluded from buying political memberships to other parties. Pinch your nose, go and find out what the other side is doing, buy some memberships, and you too can pick the political leaders and put policies on other parties. You want to be smart and tactical about it? Start doing that. This is the province. We take that very, very near and dear to our hearts. It is strong and free, and we're going to keep working on it forever. Thanks for having the opportunity to let me come out tonight. God bless.